Hey, welcome to my live today, talking about navigating life's different cycles. I'm just confirming that everything is in order before we get started. Awesome. So I think I'm live. Okay. So first of all, as always, how was your week? I would love to know from you if you're tuning in to this, either now or later on watching the replay. I love to know how your week has been like. How have you grown? How have you evolved in this last week? I think that once I started doing the live, it's been so much fun to just have like an update of how my weekly happenings, happen because I'm realizing like I'm growing so much in just a few short days. Like literally my mindset, even at the beginning of this month, literally, it's not even the same. Like I'm a whole new being, and that's based on the day-to-day challenges that I go through. And I love doing these lives because at least I can have a record of that as I go through it. And when I'm reflecting now, when I go live on Sundays, I'm actually reflecting on the lessons and the downloads that I've actually received in the week. So this week has been an interesting week for me. It was so weird. I went through some weird experience, like the same thing that happened to me last month, where we had to go a couple of days without electricity. I went through that experience again, and it was an interesting time with so many lessons. And actually, today's Today's live is actually based on the reflections that I had during that period and something that I was able to download when I was reflecting and meditating, when I was talking to my guide team, right? And this message is what came up for me, that this too shall pass. Okay, and I'm going to be sharing more about what actually transpired in the last week. Um, so it's so crazy because, you know, when I was really now looking at the materials I was going to be talking about today, it just hit me like right now we're going through a challenging period of floods in the country. So, so many people affected by that, so many people displaced, so many people having to be homeless. And it sucks, especially when you put so much investment in building an amazing home for your family and you've been living okay for the past, I don't even know how many years, and then all of a sudden all of that is just gone in a matter of hours. I mean, that's devastating, sorry, for so many people. And it's challenging, because in the last 2, 3 months, we were actually going through a different period of time where we were experiencing severe drought. Like there was no rain in my country. People were struggling with getting water for the food, like in the farms and all of that. We didn't have that, and we were praying for the rain to come. And then finally, you know, our prayers were essentially answered, but now we're experiencing the extreme end of that, where it's like heavy rainfall and causing a lot of damage, I will say, all around the country. So it's a crazy time. And this is why I want to talk about this because I realize like even when you look at the history of our world, right? Like we've gone through so many cycles, so many straight stages, like in the history of humanity, there was a period of time where humanity only knew of natural disasters, um, floods left, right, and center, and so many things happening with Mother Nature. And then we evolved from that, and then we had a period of stability where we haven't experienced like such devastating things as an entire society, right? We've gone through periods of war, right? Where all we knew was war for a couple of years. I mean, look at World War One, look at World War Two. And that's where like a majority of the countries were stuck in that state of war, right? And then we evolved from that, and now we're experiencing a sort of peace. I know there are people who are going through wars in their countries, but it doesn't have the worldwide effect that it had, during the World War and World War II, where literally almost, if not all countries were involved in some way in that war. And it's been different stages, right? when we choose to incarnate in this physical reality, that's literally what we're signing up for. It's a place of cycles. Nothing is ever stagnant, right? Everything is always changing, everything is always evolving, and even in the universe, not just us, everything is always changing, right? I think I read somewhere where I don't know where I heard this or read this, where um there was a story that there was a period of time that the sun was bigger than what we have right now. You know, when we had, if you're into spirituality and into the history of the universe and you're looking at the history of Mars and all of that, when Mars existed and then, they went into extinction, because of war and something. If you follow that kind of work, so if you don't worry about this. If you're not following me right now, that's cool. But there was a period of time where, if you believe in that, that Mars was occupied, the sun was bigger and all of that, and then all of that shifted, and now we just have a barren land on Mars, and crazy times, right? And here's what I wanted to talk about, when you also look at our own lives, right? We also go through different stages and different cycles. You know, there was a period of time where you were an infant and you had to rely on your parents to take care of you. There's a point you were a toddler and you were just being a nuisance, right? Like be naughty and just testing the waters with your parents and all of that. Then there's a period where you had to go to school and learn how to read and write and all of those different stages, You went through high school, you went through university, you went through getting jobs, right? Like we've been through so many cycles, nothing is ever stagnant. I mean, the one thing that you're always assured of when you're in this physical reality is that everything changes. You can't remain an infant forever, right? You can't remain a teenager forever. Like you evolve past that. The thing is, how do you navigate those periods of time in your life? You know, even like on an emotional level, right? There are periods in your life where you're extremely happy, where you have everything and you have everything that you could ever imagine, right? And you're in that state of happiness. And then you also go through the period where you're in complete despair, where nothing seems to be working out. It's always changing and always evolving. So the question that came up for me is that who do you become once these two states happen? Because where people get stuck is that they get so lost in the negative aspect of it, right? So you can either use these opportunities to help you grow and evolve and become a better version of yourself, or you can evolve to now a worse aspect of yourself. Because you have those two possibilities as you navigate life. Who do you become when everything seems to be working out in your life? Who is that person? And are you the same person who's gonna be there when shit hits the fan? Because the one thing again that's always assured is that everything changes. These too shall pass. Now I know if you're in the upward cycle of life where probably you have the best health, you have the best relationships, you have the amount of money, like you're experiencing abundance in so many fronts. If I tell you this statement that these too shall pass, for a lot of people, that will trigger them because they're like, I don't want this to end. But there is a possibility that it is going to end. And you have to prepare for that. You have to be ready. I'm not saying like start thinking negatively, start worrying about the future or when things will go bad, but you still have to be prepared, especially your inner states of being, because sometimes that's all you have to navigate life, you know. If you um if you're going through a particularly challenging time and I tell you that statement that this too shall pass, that bears a message of hope, right? That you're not always going to be broke. You're not always going to be sad. You're not always going to be in that job that probably you do not like. You're not always going to be in the state of singlehood. You're not always going to be in a bad relationship, right? These too shall pass. Where people get lost in that is when they're trying to control the process, like, and this is where now the pain aspect of it comes about. When you're like, of course, no one wants to go through the pain, right? No one wants to go through those dire situations when you're in full despair, your mental, emotional, physical well-being is affected. No one ever wants to go through that, but it is a part of life, right? So most people get so scared of getting to those states because I want to say like they fear the worst possible thing, that they won't have the strength to navigate that, right? But the thing is, you can actually use the challenging moments to light a fire within you to be better, you know? Assuming like if you're in a state of brokenness right now and you need to figure out like where your next meal is gonna come from, what does that say? So the person who does not use this particular period as a way to light up their fire, they'll choose to get stuck in despair and really fall into that state of victimhood, thus evolving into a worse aspect of themselves. So instead of actually doing whatever they need to do to get themselves out of that, they decide to, fall into the poor me, poor me. I don't have money for this. Poor me. Can't afford this. Poor me. I don't have a house and all of that. But the people who choose to use that particular period to be like, you know what? I'm never gonna be here again. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get to that level where I have more than enough. And I'm gonna put in the work. If it means that I will literally tarmac the streets and get any job that's available to me, I have to let go of the shame and the guilt. I need to survive. I need to find money in whatever ways possible. And you kind of like use that period to develop a work ethic, right? Discipline, becoming a go-getter. Chances are, if you had everything in your life right now and everything was met, all your needs were met, are that you will not be able to integrate all these habits or all these ways to show up in the world had you not gone through that particular state of luck. So in that sense, that luck, that state of luck is actually being in service to you. The kind of mindset that you should endeavor to embody going forward is that having a state of neutrality where it doesn't matter where life takes you. Today you wake up, you're like, like now those people are telling you about who, you thought you were set for life, you have your house, everything is built, and then boom, within a couple of hours, everything is flattened. What do you do then? And it happens, right? It's the people who went to sleep when they're living in a peaceful state, and then some people somewhere woke up and decide that, we're gonna start a war. And now we're taking you to that side. And you have no control over what happens on the outside. But you know what you have control over? It's over you and how you choose to see this situation and use this situation to serve you to be a better and evolved, better version of yourself, right? So essentially the mindset is that you should endeavor to, integrate within you is that how is the situation serving me? Because where people get lost is when they allow the negativity to take them down into the despair, victimhood kind of state, where life is always against me, God must hate me and all of that. And we've been there. I've been there a couple of times, right? The issue is if you choose not to embody that state of this situation is supposed to serve me, that's when now you start doing whatever actions you need to take and using that particular situation to light up a fire within you to get you to the next level, not to allow yourself to get stuck there, right? The beauty happens in the in-between moments when you're between these two extremes, because those are what present the greatest opportunity for you to grow if you know how to use them wisely. If you don't, you're probably going to mess things up and end up way worse than you were before. Let's look at someone who's probably been praying to be in a relationship, right? You've been praying, you're going to church, you're showing up, you're doing the work, you're taking the self-development classes, you're going to the gym, you're dressing right, and all of that, all in a sense to get you to a state where you're going to manifest this partner of your dreams, right? Okay, you've done the work, you've put in the effort, and finally, what happens? You get the partner. And what do most people do once they manifest that desired state? Some people get cocky. They forget to continue doing the work. So now all of a sudden, I'm going to let myself go, I'm not going to be going to the gym all the time. Like, come on, I got my partner, right? Why do I need to go put in the effort and, exercise and all of that? Waste of time, right? I already have my partner. I was taking all these self-development courses to make me a better human being, but why do I need to put the work into the meditation and the journaling and all of that? Like, I already have my partner. Why do I have to put an effort into how I dress, how I look, how I talk to this person, and learning how to navigate, the different periods you go through with this particular relationship? I already have my partner. So they start putting in the work. And then you forget that the honeymoon phase doesn't last long, right? I mean, when you get married, most people assume like, you're always gonna be happy, and that's not always the case. 1 year down the line, sometimes it's months down the line, you start experiencing problems because now you're starting to really understand who you actually got involved with. And you have to learn how to navigate that. You're constantly growing and evolving. You're literally not the same person you were like when you got married or when you got into that partnership. You've grown and evolved from that. Sometimes you could have grown to be better if you're still putting in the effort you were putting in before you got the partner. You could have evolved to a better version of yourself. But if you didn't, now you're going to a worse person. So now all of a sudden, the partner that your person met, you know, is not the same person that they're with in the relationship 3, 4, 5 months or years down the line. It's a completely new person. And the love goes. So what do you do then? Because now those are the two different extremes, right? You went through the happy phase when you got married, when you thought nothing was ever going to phase you, and then the challenging moments come by. So for the ones who don't use that opportunity to grow, evolve, and learn, or whatever lessons they need to learn, you know, now it's on to the victimhood. Like, poor me, what a man or what a woman I married, like, so annoying, so nagging, and all of that. And you start focusing on the negative, like everything that your partner does that is so wrong. And before you know it, the relationship is gone. And then now you're back to ground zero. Now you want a partner. And then now you start doing the work that you were doing before. You see, now those are the cycles we go through in life. Once we don't use the in-between moments to grow and evolve and become better versions of ourselves, it takes you back to ground zero, because essentially it just means that you never actually grew in the first place. You never allowed yourself to integrate the new being that you're becoming. You got cocky, you got greedy. You assume that life was always going to be good, and that's not always the case. That's just one case study. Look at someone who's probably been looking for a job for such a long time, and you're praying to God and you're applying for jobs and you're taking all these courses and all these lessons and all whatever you name it, right? You've gone to school, you've gotten your master's, you've gotten a PhD, you want that job that has that level of income, or the level of power, or whatever it is that you're looking for in that particular job. And you've done the work and you manifest this relationship, right? The career, sorry. And then you get there, then you get cocky. All that development work you did to get yourself there. What's the point? I don't need to put in the effort anymore. And you're assuming that I'm always gonna be in this job forever. That's not always the case. Things change. Tomorrow you might wake up, your entire company. And again, if you're watching this, I'm not speaking like negative things to happen in your life. No, I'm just telling you that this is things that normally happens, and you have to be prepared for that. Not always assume that things are always going to be great. If you get that job and then you decide, you know what, I don't need to put in the effort. I don't need to grow anymore. I need to go to school or work on something, right? I mean, look at even the advent of AI, right? A couple of, I want to say, because for me, I think AI really became a reality in 2023. Before then, yes, you will hear people talking about it, but it wasn't as common as it is. I think AI really blew up in 2023, in my opinion, unless I'm wrong, I don't know. But someone who's putting the work, they love the job, I'll give the example of a copywriter, right? Because I think that's one of the fields that has been really affected with the whole AI thing. Because ChatGPT can do copywriting. I want to say, okay, right? Like, it does the job well. And assuming that you've done the work enough to become the best copywriter in your field, right? And then ChatGPT hits you, and you've not been putting the work to grow and evolve with the changing times. And then now, boom, that cockiness you had when you had the job and you thought, I made it, it's gone in an instant. Now, all of a sudden, people don't need your services because you forgot to continue doing the work. You forgot to continue applying yourself and doing the work to keep on evolving in the changing times. You got cocky. And Systems change, and now you're taken back to ground zero, and you have to start all over again. But here's the thing, like it doesn't have to be a cycle, that kind of cycle in your life. If again you choose to use any opportunity that's presented to you to grow and evolve, not get stuck with being cocky once you manifest that thing that you want, still put in the work and not letting yourself fall into utter despair, even when things don't go as well as you expect. Use that to light up the fire in you and integrate the lessons that you need to learn in that moment to get you to the next level. So remember this, these too shall pass, and you have to have the structures and the habits and whatever it is to help you navigate both states. Okay? I will say this, that the in between, right? This is how I want you to look at it. When you're in the bad moments, and then now you're in that between that the transition period, from the bad to the good, the best way to use that time is to use it to grow and evolve. And that means that if it means that there are certain skills you need to learn, go learn them. If it means that there are certain habits that you need to develop them. Because that's usually the period when you have that passion, like, I need to get this situation to end. So I'll take the example of someone who wants to manifest that partner, and you're like, okay, fine. So first of all, I gotta make sure I look good physically, right? Because that's what, like, many people go there, right? Either grooming has to change, how you exercise, how you eat, all of that, right? So during that period is when you use that opportunity to grow and evolve in that. So acquire the habits, acquire the skills, acquire the knowledge, whatever it is that you need to get you out of that. Okay, that's how you use that in between moment. Now, once you get to the manifested state, you have the partner, you have the money and all of that. You get there, and then now that in between moment before the next challenge hits you, how do you use that? You use it to integrate all the lessons, now to fully embody them. It doesn't mean that once you get your partner, now you stop working on yourself. Still put in the work, become the better and better version day in, day out. Okay. It doesn't mean that you stop doing the work, continue doing the work. Because what that will do is when now the challenges hit, you still have the background or the base to stand on based on who you were even before this partnership hit. So even if the relationship, becomes a bust, you're still a better and evolved version. You're not going back to ground zero. You're going into whatever next situation is, if it's a new partner, with a whole new version of yourself. You're not the old person who had not learned their lesson yet before you got into this partnership, because you've been constantly growing and evolving. Because the challenges are going to hit. And when they hit, if you've been doing the meditation and all of that, you'll have the awareness of how best to navigate the challenging moments. Because remember, again, these too shall pass. They'll go through the challenging moments and then emerge next to an even better versions of each other, if both of you are choosing that to grow. And then now you continue now to the next part of your journey. Not getting to grade 6 and then realizing, like, holy crap, I can't remember what I learned in grade 1. So I'm going to have to go back and then start in the cycle again. And this is where most people get stuck, in the loops, right? You get here, things happen, boom, 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 takes you back to ground zero. And then you start again. And you're never growing and evolving. You're still the same person. Someone meets you 10, 15 years down the line. And I'm not saying this in any way to judge you if this is the state you're in, but I'm hoping that if you're watching this, that something sparks in you. Don't wait until, like, things, like, it's too late for you. So I'm hoping that whatever message I'm sharing with you is actually inspiring you. Start looking at your life differently, right? To know to really maintain that state of neutrality of, like, it does not matter what happens, I'm still gonna be the same person. I'm still gonna be always putting in the work, whether things are good, whether things are bad. Oh, I was actually trying to remember this opportunity. Like, you've had of this cases where you're with a partner, you've been through the mud, through the trenches, going through from a state of brokenness and all of that, and both of you have put in the work, and then you get there, probably, and because I've seen several of these cases, it's a man and a woman, you met each other when both of you were not doing so well. and then you put in the effort. Probably it's the man really putting the effort into the career and all of that, and the woman just supporting the man in the background, whatever way possible. And then finally, the man makes it. And then what happens? They forget all the work they had to put in to get them there. Usually for the man, it can go both ways, I think, because we've had both situations. So do not get too attached to whether it's a man or a woman. I'm just giving an example, right? So you get to that manifested desired state, the abundance that you're calling in, and then the cockiness falls in. And then what happens? The man is like, you know what, I can use a better partner. Let me let go of this partner. Like, I don't need you anymore. How many times have you had of that happen? Like, there's so many. You forget the work that you actually put in to get you to that state. And then you're like, you know what? I deserve better. And what usually happens, right? Fine, the man is gonna go get another partner who seems to be at the level they are at, right? Again, can go both ways, because it will also be easily the woman who gets there and then gets cocky and decides, you know what, I don't need you anymore. I'm gonna find a better partner. Okay. And you find a better partner and thinking that you made it in life, and the challenging moment hit. And all of a sudden, this new partner who was not with you in the trenches ends up leaving you because you got into the situation where you're completely different people. You stop putting in the work, right? You got cocky because you assume I'm always gonna be rich, so I'm not gonna put in the work. Let me let go of those people who are, reminding me of my old life. And then now it's back to ground zero. A humbling opportunity again. Now you start remembering, oh no, how badly I treated the people who supported me during that period where I was down in the trenches. I forgot all about them because I got too cocky. So don't allow for that to happen. Exercise wisdom, exercise a state of neutrality, and always have that thing in the back of your mind that these too shall pass. Either the good or the challenging moments. Just however you choose to take that, okay? Um, I think that was it for today. I'm just consulting my notes to see if there's anything else I have missed. I don't think there is. I think I've highlighted that, but I'd love to know your thoughts on this if you're watching this. Like, share with me, how you've navigated those periods of extremes in your life, right? Because I think all of us have those stories. Oh, and I did promise I was going to share what happened in the last week. So because of the floods and all of that, we experienced another, was it 2 days? I think 2 days of no electricity and downtime again. I remember the last time it happened, I challenged myself that I was gonna say, um, that I was just gonna take a whole day off and I wasn't gonna do anything. I wasn't gonna use the internet or the phone or all of that. And I did try that this time round. I really did. Luckily enough, I was able to charge my devices even if we did not have electricity. But I learned this beautiful lesson during that period of time when I was reflecting. Because what happened was that I was calling the utility company, right, to come and fix the electricity, right? Because it was just a faulty transformer that affected a couple of people, like literally my entire area. Let me just say area where I stay. Okay. So transformer blew up, called the utility company to come and fix it. First day, they didn't show up. Second day, empty promises again. It was getting so frustrating because I was wondering, like, what is wrong with these people? Why are they stringing me along and all of that? It was seriously frustrating. And then we come to the third day, and I call them in the morning again. And I'm telling them, like, it's so frustrating for me to keep on following you guys up. It's either you're fixing it or you're not. Don't string me along because I'm using so much of my energy to keep reminding you. And the person on the other end, assured me that it was going to be fixed. And then afternoon reaches, and when the rain starts pouring, because it usually starts in the late afternoon, of course they can't be working on electricity at that time, right? So by the time afternoon was reaching and I'm seeing the dark clouds ahead, and I can hear the thunder in the background, and I just knew at the back of my mind, oh no, we're gonna have another third day of no electricity. Oh boy, and I was so bummed because again, I could not do any work. I could not show up. I hadn't done my normal scheduled post, right? So the lights went off the day I was actually supposed to do that. And I hadn't done the work and it felt so horrible. But got to a state I was like, you know what? It's beyond me and I'm just gonna let whatever needs to happen happen. So what if I don't do the scheduled post? So what if I don't show up? Right? I honestly tried my best. And you get to certain situations where some things are beyond you, and there's literally nothing you can do. And you're just stuck in the moment, like, I've tried everything, I've called. So literally, the only thing you're left with is to actually go and drag the engineer to come and look at it. And now that's not possible. So you just accept the situation for what it is. But it was so weird that just at the moment where I thought that we're gonna be stuck in this lack of electricity for another whole day, boom, the lights were back. And I was like, holy crap, miracles do happen. Because I did not think that that was going to happen at that time, considering the thunder was there. And I could sense that the rain was just about to start. And then boom, when I'm thinking that it's hopeless, shifted, like something just shifted. And the beautiful lesson in that moment was that everything can change in the blink of an eye. When you're stuck in the most challenging moments, when you don't even know how you're gonna get yourself out of that, remember that everything can actually shift in an instant. Even when it seems like it's impossible, miracles do happen. I've heard so many people talk about it, and I'm gonna be sharing more of this as I go through my channel, the day I get inspired to share more of my stories. But that was a beautiful story and a beautiful reminder in that a lot of things can change in an instant. And all that time you thought that you're forever going to be stuck in the darkness, forever going to be stuck in the struggle, it will pass, right? You will get to the new state and you'll forget the pain and the struggle that you went through before manifesting that. But if you allow the cockiness to kick in, and you stop doing the work, guess what? You're always going to be in the upward cycle forever, right? There's a period of time you're going to be taken back, and you have to remember the lessons in that moment. So keep doing the work. Never stop doing the work, okay? And I'm going to end this live first by sharing a beautiful story that I heard, and it's always been at the back of my mind, right? So I heard this story from one of my teachers called 𝐍𝐚𝐬𝐿. Brilliant, wise, amazing guy. I love his material. I love the course that I took with him. And I'm gonna read out the story based on how he told it. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best not to change a lot of words. And which will actually help you to really maintain that state of neutrality regardless of whatever is happening in your life. So the story is basically based on a Sufi tale, a tale from Sufi tradition. That's what he said. And apparently there are many versions of it, but the version I'm going to share is the one that 𝐍𝐚𝐬𝐿 shared with during the course that I was taking with him. Okay, so the basically the basis of the story is that good thing or bad thing, who knows? That's the whole basis of the story. So here's the story. So there was a man and his son, and they lived in a beautiful valley, and they were very happy, but they were also that poor. And the man got sick and tired of being that poor, and he decided that he was going to become rich. He was going to turn entrepreneurial and breed horses. So he wanted a stallion to buy a horse, right? He didn't have the money to buy that. So he chose to borrow heavily from his neighbors. And the very night that he bought this horse, the horse ended up kicking the top bar loose from the paddock it was housed in, and the horse escaped. And all the neighbors that this man had borrowed the money from came to his home, and they said, "You are going to become a rich man, but your horses ran away, and you still owe us money. You are so screwed." And the man looked at them and shrugged his shoulders and said, "Good thing, bad thing. Who knows?" That stallion, the horse that ran away, fell in with a group of other wild horses, and they were close to where this man and his son lived. And this man was able to lure all these horses back to the paddock in which he kept the initial horse, when he bought the one that the horse ran away from. So he lured all these wild horses together with his original horse back to the paddock in which they were housed, which he had already repaired at this time. So now there was no possibility of any of these horses escaping. That was not a possibility, okay? And all of a sudden now, he didn't just have the one horse that he had bought initially, he had all these other horses, a dozen more horses, wild horses, that were now part of his wealth, right? And now all of a sudden, right, by the standards of the village, because he had all these horses, now he shifted from being that poor to being a very wealthy man. And the same neighbors came running around and say, and this is what they say to the man, "Oh, we thought you were destitute, but fortune has indeed smiled on you. You're actually a rich man right now." And the man again shrugs his shoulders and says, "Good thing, bad thing, who knows?" The man and his son started to now break in the horses, the wild horses, right? So they could sell them now in the market. And one of the horses threw the man's son and stomped on his leg and broke his leg. And it ended up healing the leg of the son ended up healing, but it healed crooked, right? And the neighbors now came around, same neighbors, right? Came around to tell the man, "Whoa, your son was such a handsome man, but now he will never be able to find a girl to marry him. How unfortunate." And the man again shrugs his shoulders and says, "Good thing, bad thing. Who knows?" That summer, the king of the country declared war in the neighboring country, and press gangs moved through the villages, rounding up all the able-bodied young men to serve in the army. But this man's son was spared because he had a crooked leg. He couldn't walk properly, right? So he couldn't serve in the war. And the neighbors, once again, with tears in their eyes, came round to the man's place, telling him now, "We don't know if we'll ever see our sons alive again, but you still have your son with you. How fortunate you are." And again, the man shrugged his shoulders and said, "Good thing, bad thing, who knows?" Powerful story. And I want you to actually rewind. The story continues on and on, according to Sri Kumar, but that's the part he shared. But it's such a beautiful story and a beautiful reminder that really, good thing or bad thing, who knows? We have a tendency of labeling situations as they come to us. "Oh, I'm going through this period of luck, and this is the worst thing that could possibly happen to me." And you can get stuck in that mindset. But if you choose to embody this mindset of good thing, bad thing, who knows, you can use this state to get you to the next level. That's how to navigate life. And even when you get to that level that you want to manifest the abundance or whatever it is that you're calling in, good thing, bad thing, who knows? You don't know about tomorrow. You might assume, "Oh my God, I manifested the most amazing experience ever. I have all the money," and then the money comes with all this weird challenges all of a sudden. And now all of a sudden, now you're in a state of challenge and you're like, "This is the worst thing possible." And initially you wanted the abundance, right? You see how that? Now, if you want to be navigating life where you're getting thrown off course, that when you're in this state, when you're in a happy state, it's like, "Ooh, life can't touch me," and you get cocky. And then when you're in the bad state or the negative aspect of it, now you fall into despair and you fall into victimhood. If you choose to embody that mentality of good thing, bad thing, it does not matter what happens in external reality. You will always remain unchanged. And if anything, you'll actually grow and become an even better and better version of yourself, regardless of what life throws at you. So I hope this has inspired you. Share with me down below if this has. Share the best part that you enjoyed about this entire live that I've streamed right now. And also share your experiences. I always say, like, you never know how your story can actually inspire. So if you feel called to do that, do comment down below, share with anyone, and I'll always be happy to witness you when you do that. So thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm assuming whoever is watching this is going to be watching the replay. Please note that I appreciate you so much. And if you can leave a comment so that I can actually know who I'm actually talking to when I'm doing this live, I would appreciate that so much. And make sure that you subscribe to my channel if you've never subscribed, and also click on the notification bell so that you can get notifications of anytime I go live or anytime I share any kind of content, so that you don't miss out on the amazing insights that I do share. And I always end my videos by sharing how I can actually help you master this state of neutrality, master this state of what one of my amazing teachers in life, Vision Laken, calls the state of unfuckwithability. Say it like that, okay? Not my words, his words. But essentially, it's that state where it doesn't matter what life is throwing at you, you just remain unfazed. If you want to learn to master that state for yourself, I found that for me, the most amazing tool that has been so instrumental in me learning how to maintain that state, because I'm not yet there. There are yogis who are able to have that kind of mindset. I'm not yet there, but I am getting there. But the one tool that has really helped me accelerate that is what we call quantum flow. So a beautiful method that incorporates breathwork, sound, and movement to help you rewire your nervous system. So remember that a lot of your emotional wounds, a lot of your traumatic experiences, any kind of negative or whatever experience you've had in your life, all the way from when you were even in your mother's womb. Because a lot of us have patterns that are not even our own. We just integrated that from whatever was happening around our caregivers when we were not even in the physical world. So remember that everything that happens to the mother, it still affects the child somehow, right? And if at all your mom was going through certain experiences, right, maybe being in an abusive situation or whatever it is, whatever kind of challenges, you'll find that a lot, some of those patterns might have gotten recorded within your nervous system. And based on that, they do affect how we show up in the world currently. Meaning that if you keep on attracting situations that touch on that wound, that touch on that pattern, you just make this pattern bigger and bigger. And the recording of this in your nervous system even bigger and bigger. And what happens is that now you start reacting to life based on that past wound, based on who you actually are not. And what quantum flow does is, again, using breathwork, sound, and movement to help break down this pattern, this unconscious pattern that you've been showing up, as in your current lifetime. If you've ever found yourself having like an overblown reaction to such a small trigger, that's usually a good sign that it's probably touching on a wound that's been there for such a long time. And what quantum flow does is that breaks down these patterns and gets the energy flowing again. And now, based on the new awareness that you have gathered for yourself and that you will gather the more and more you do quantum flow, you get to create a reality and go to show up as an even better version of you and help you also to acquire higher states of well-being in your physical, mental, emotional, spirituality, energetic well-being. I always say, like for me, I feel like quantum flow is the one thing that has accelerated my growth. Because the beauty with quantum flow is that it just doesn't focus on your mindset. Because this is where people get lost. You'll assume that, okay, so I'm just going to take the courses, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to journal, and they only focus on working on their mind, but then they forget that the body is also part of it. And quantum flow incorporates both the body and all these other states of being in helping you release all those old patterns and awaken to a new and better version of you, and also allowing for that intuition, that connection with the soul to happen much more clearly once you release all these patterns that have been keeping you stuck in the past. So if you want to know more about this, I invite you to book a discovery call with me down below if you have more questions. If that is not okay with you, you can go ahead and connect with me on Facebook and Instagram. Message me and ask any questions you have for me for more clarification on how quantum flow can actually help you 10x whatever results or whatever kind of development thing that you're doing right now. Quantum flow for sure is going to help you accelerate that phase off. So if you're curious about this, do connect with me. I do have current offers that I'm giving to any of my clients who book more than one session with me. So if you're curious about that, again, check out my offers down below. I do work with the second modality, which is called soul realignment, which is based on actually working with Akashic records. But the beauty of soul realignment is that it not only tells you about, because what I've seen with a lot of the Akashic records, okay, the ones I've tapped into, maybe there are others that I haven't experienced, but the ones I've heard of is when people just want to know the history of their soul, right? Which is well and good, right? But I find that people get so stuck in wanting to know who they are, but it actually never has a direct impact on how they show up presently. Because essentially, any kind of methodology you tap into should be able to shift how you operate in the world, either your mindset, the way you show up with other people, the way you even show up for yourself. Like something should shift for that methodology to have an impact in your life. And for some of the Akashic record, whatever modalities that people tap into, it's mostly focused on just giving you, yes, information of, you are a soul who was doing this in a previous lifetime, but not actually giving you actionable information on how that changes your current reality. And this is where soul element comes in. The soul element actually helps you get in touch with who you are at a soul level. What I mean by that is actually helping you get in touch with how you were designed to show up in the world. What innate soul level gifts were you given by God or source of the universe, whatever you resonate with, to leverage to create a better experience for yourself? So a lot of people have lost a sense of who they are, and they've allowed the society and their experiences and all of that to make them lose a connection with who they essentially are. And most people are usually working against themselves, which normally represent or shows up in the world in a lot of dysfunction in different areas of their life. So essentially, if you're not connected to your authentic self, the authentic version of yourself at a soul level, that will always manifest in the most dysfunctional ways in your life. Usually the three areas are either health or your relationship or your finances, like things are just not going to be working right. So what soul element does is connects you to your authentic self, helps you identify how you're supposed to be showing up in the world, helps you identify what current actions you're doing right now that are actually going against who you were designed to be. So you get to show up better, right? And the next thing is that it helps connect you to your soul story. So you do get to have a soul story, but the beauty of this is that it connects you to a particular soul story where your particular spirit started making negative choices, those choices that went against who you are at soul level. So helps to identify what choices or what circumstances led you to make those choices that you're still repeating right now. Because a lot of people keep on making the same mistakes. Remember that you're essentially here, yes, to grow and evolve, but part of that is also releasing these patterns, the negative patterns that you've formed within your soul blueprint based on all the negative choices you've had, right, in your different lifetimes. So or bring into your awareness that those choices that you're currently making in your life right now that are creating the dysfunction, right? So that now going forward, once you have that knowledge that you attract this type of people and type of experiences based on this and this, now you get to show up better because it puts you back in control in your life, helps you to take more responsibility and make different choices going forward based on that awareness. And the best thing is that now on an energetic level, you get to heal all of this negative karmic imprints within your soul blueprint in the Akashic records. So you get an energetic healing, which of course will affect your current vibrational state so that going forward, you no longer need to attract the same people or the same patterns that you have been attracting over and over again. Now, the only disclaimer I can give you this is that if you're not willing to do things differently, then both of these modalities are not for you. So the one thing that I normally stress with my clients is that you have to make different choices. You can't just sit there passively and expect things to change. Something has to shift. What quantum flow does is that it makes that process easier for you by helping you remove all these patterns that have been preventing you from showing up differently in our physical reality. And also with the solar element now energetically, you're no longer needing to attract these patterns. But going forward, you do have to start acting differently. Otherwise, whatever patterns it is that you'll be releasing, you'll keep on now repeating them again if you haven't learned your lessons yet. If you're curious about soul element, you want to know more, again, I invite you to book a discovery call with me or go ahead and connect with me on Facebook or Instagram. Or if you're just listening to me and you're like, holy crap, like I want a session with you, please go ahead and book a session. All my offerings are down below. And honestly, I hope I will get to see you on the other side. So please connect with me. Always love to hear from you, okay? So sending you so much love. Again, don't forget to subscribe and support the channel by showing up for this call, seeing my material, liking my videos, so at least I can get to impact more people. So I thank you so much, and I will see you next Sunday with the lessons for the next week. Okay, bye for now.